Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for our Connect with HSPC webcast. So we're really excited for this interview today because we're going to be talking about the virtual mental health first aid program. So my name is Melanie McGregor, and I am the chair of the Halton Suicide Prevention Coalition. And with me are Melissa Graves and Dara Eisner Clancy, who are also part of our group. So we're really excited today for our guests. So we are speaking with Denise Waligora, who is with the Mental Health First Aid Program with the Mental Health Commission of Canada. So Denise has a Bachelor of Science degree and over 20 years working in the mental health field. And prior to joining the Mental Health Commission, where she's currently the training and delivery specialist for mental health first aid, which she's been doing since 2011, her professional experiences included psychiatric nursing. She was a residential program director. She was an IBI therapist at CHIO. She was a crisis worker and a case manager for a justice program. So she's been facilitating mental health first aid since 2008. So a wealth of experience, and I'm fortunate enough to have Denise as a colleague because I myself am a mental health first aid facilitator. So welcome, Denise. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to talk about our new mental health first aid virtual course.
Great, excited. So I know you're really passionate about the program. So I'll start just by asking you, can you tell us a little bit about what mental health first aid is and what the role is of mental health first aiders?
Yeah, so mental health first aid is the help that is provided to somebody who may be experiencing a decline in their mental well-being or experiencing a crisis. And that help, that support is provided until either the crisis is resolved or until professional help is received. And really what it is participants learn to identify changes that a person may be experiencing when they're experiencing a decline in their mental well-being. And that we really equip participants with that knowledge and the skills to identify those changes and then how to initiate that conversation. Because that's really what being a mental health first aider is about having that conversation, about setting that safe space for that person and sitting in that space with somebody. And through that conversation, allowing that individual to really talk about that decline that they may be experiencing and checking the understanding of that individual by asking relevant questions, checking the understanding about supports that they may be aware of, what may have helped in the past, what might help look like for you today. And it's really, it seems simple, but it really comes down to being able to be the best support that we possibly can be when somebody is experiencing that decline in their mental well-being.
Mm-hmm. I love how you say that, how you've emphasized that mental health first aid is a conversation. That I know in the course we talk about this is what you do as a mental health first aider. It's around having that conversation, but we also focus on, things that aren't your role, that sometimes people may, be a little bit reluctant around having that conversation. So that's really reassuring to hear. And we know as well that there are a few different versions of the course. Could you tell us a little bit about what those are?
Absolutely. So we actually have 8 versions of mental health first aid. So we have the standard, which was called the basic. So we've renamed it the standard. We have the youth, which we're changing the name of that to mental health first aid supporting youth. We have mental health first aid older adults. It was called seniors. We're changing it to older adults. We have the veterans, First Nations, Inuit, and Northern people. The First Nations, Inuit, and Northern people courses are 3-day participant courses compared to the other ones, which are 2-day. We also have mental health first aid for police. Now, we have, since November, we rolled out a virtual offering of the standard, which was very new to us because prior to the pandemic, all of our courses were in person. And so to meet the needs of Canadians, we have developed a virtual offering of the standard, and we will be rolling out a virtual offering of the supporting youth later in the summer, and also a virtual offering of the older adults. So very exciting times at Mental Health First Aid, also very, very busy times at the program as well too.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I'll jump in now, Denise, because I went to your website, which we're looking at now, and it is just excellent. And I learned a lot. And I was just wondering if you could share with us, who should take mental health first aid, and who is it geared towards? Yeah. I found myself looking, I wonder if my volunteers should go through this, or can I? And then I thought, I think it will be a question. So
Yeah.
can you share with us?
And I have one word to answer that question, and that is everybody.
Okay.
Right? We really need to, society is always about, physical first aid, physical first aid.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, I've known physical first aid since I've been 14 years old, and I'm way past 14 years old. And in my career, even as a nurse, in my life, I have never used CPR. In my entire life, even in my nursing career, I never used CPR. But if you ask me how many times that I have been a mental health first aider, I could not even begin to give you a number. If, and I say this to participants, if they themselves do not live with a mental health problem, they have individuals in their life that do.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't it be a wonderful society if all of us had a better understanding of mental health and had a better understanding of how to support those in our life, not just professionally, but personally. And this is one of the things I see as well too with courses is that, organizations are sending their employees. And I so stress to participants that this isn't just about your professional role. This is about in your personal life, because you have friends, you have family members, you have colleagues that struggle with their mental well-being. And we know that especially during this last year and in Ontario, as we're in another lockdown, we know that individuals in our lives are being affected. And wouldn't it be wonderful to know that if we ourselves are struggling, knowing that we have people in our life that have a better understanding and can be those supports. So yes, take the course, send your volunteers to take the course. And I know that when it comes to the distress center, I know the quality of the trainings that the volunteers go through. This just ups the training that they receive with taking that because they're being mental health first aiders every single day that they're on those phones.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's an excellent. I love the analogy. The theme is if you take first aid, which so many of us do, and you're right, we never get to use CPR, but every day you will come across someone that could use some first aid, mental health first aid. So thank you. What an excellent answer. Love the analogy.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So Denise, you touched on this a little bit already, but could you tell us a little bit more about the standard virtual course, sort of what that looks like, and why did Mental Health First Aid decide to take it to the virtual world?
Yeah. So when the pandemic first hit last year, we were asked by Health Canada to put together a crisis response course. And so we are very, fortunate to have a wonderful program development team with Mental Health First Aid consisting of learning specialists. And so learning specialists put together a Caring for Others. It was a 2-hour crisis response course. And that was the first time we dove into anything virtual. And the longer the pandemic's going on, we realized we need to meet the needs of Canadians. And so the way to meet the needs of Canadians was to develop a virtual course. And so Mental Health First Aid is evidence-based. And so we also had to stick to the, make sure that it was evidence-based, and we really had to stick to the true nature of the course. And so what's really exciting actually about the virtual is it's an update from the in-person standard course now, is that we've moved away from the medical model. And so we've moved towards a recovery-oriented approach. And so we've taken away some of that medical. So it's not about this is what depression looks like, this is what anxiety-related disorders looks like. This is what changes look like if somebody is experiencing, because our course does not teach you to be a therapist or a counselor, nor does it teach you to be able to diagnose somebody. So it's not about knowing about labels, it's about being aware of what changes that it is that you may notice. We've also added to the virtual course communicating and supporting with members of cultures other than your own. So the cultural competence has also been added, as well as supporting members of the 2S LGBTQ plus communities as well too. And so the virtual course there's 3 modules. Module 1 is a 2-hour self-directed module that a participant must complete to attend module 2 and 3. So module 2, we really take what the participant has learned in module 1, and we give them that opportunity to put into practice the LG's actions. You'll also notice for those that have taken the course before that we've added the S at the end of LG's, the acronym, the conversation guide for the self-care for the first aider. So we've really touched upon that importance of that if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't continue to be a support to others in our life. So it's more on the recovery oriented. Let's focus on those changes. Let's focus on how to have that safe conversation without telling that person what to do, but through that conversation, check understanding and find out how best to support that individual. So the modules are 3.5 hours. Module 2 and 3 are 3.5 hours, and it's very interactive. So participants are sent into breakout rooms to work through case scenarios. There's a listening activity. There's videos in the course. So it's a very engaging course. I was very excited about this because, to be really honest, I was always against going online because I value, as Melanie would, from being a facilitator and a master trainer. So she really didn't just introduce herself. Melanie's one of our master trainers. So she actually facilitates facilitator training. So, and it's an elite team. So I just wanted to point that out, that Melanie is very respected and cherished with us at Mental Health First Aid. But we wanted to focus on that, the being interactive. And so it really is just about really teaching and learning from each other, that virtual. So it's just been a great experience, but moving to that virtual, I was apprehensive because, as Melanie would know, that connection when you're in person, how do you repeat that? I mean, how do you, do this online? But you're able to. Like, I find I'm having a blast. I'm loving teaching virtually. And the other thing about a virtual course is that you may have participants from Newfoundland, you may have participants from the Yukon, and we have participants from all over the country joining a course which you never had that opportunity to do before. And it's allowed our facilitators to co-facilitate and connect with each other and network as well across the country. So it's really opened up a lot of doors and really met the needs of Canadians who are in a virtual world right now.
Great. I know.
Absolutely.
I've taught a few sessions of the virtual course, and it's really enjoyable. And like you said, I do miss that in-person connection, but we're doing what we can, and I think it's going really well.
And we will get back. And I will just say this, there are facilitators delivering in person. We fully support our facilitators to deliver in-person courses as long as they're adhering to social distance guidelines that have been set out by their specific province, territory, region, whatever that may be. But then we've also given that opportunity for facilitators and participants to do it online as well too. And we have over 1,400 active facilitators from coast to coast to coast in this country. So and I mean, the facilitators aren't employed by the commission. Our facilitators are seen as independent, but that's over 1,400, teaching 8 different versions of mental health first aid. So we're really making an impact. Yeah, it is. When you think about it, it truly is.
Well, and I think it's incredible how the way that we've been able to adapt, right? Because, things that historically might take years to develop a virtual course, COVID has really, made things happen a lot quicker. And, like you said, being responsive to the needs of Canadians, so many people are in distress and experiencing mental health concerns right now. So the more people we can get trained and using this virtual format, I think, just absolutely incredible. So thank you, Denise.
Absolutely. Oh, no, you're welcome. It's been a big learning experience for myself during this past year. And I've grown as a facilitator, to be honest with you, right? I've learned so much, and I always learn from participants. I learn from the other facilitators, but it's been a great journey. And really the work that goes into creating, like even just thinking about the older adults, we've taken a 2-day in-person course. The learning specialist has designed, the three modules, but it's not just, oh, here's the material. It's let's pilot this. So there were 2 pilots that were done with 2 outside organizations to truly evaluate the material. And then we go through, and then we bring the master trainers in and we go through the material again, and we make sure everything's good. And then it's sent off to translation and formatting, branding. And that's why things take time. And people think that, oh, let's just take what you have and put it online. Well, no, we have to stick to the integrity of the course. We have to stick to the evidence base of the course. And so there's so many components behind the scenes that people don't always realize, but we want to make sure that we are providing Canadians with the most effective course that we possibly can. So it takes time to give a quality course. So yeah, but we've learned a lot, and if I'm very appreciative for those organizations that have been our pilot and have provided that feedback, and to the master trainers who have been part of this whole journey as well too. I honestly think it's brought us all closer together as well. I really believe that even with us at work with the operations team, that it has brought all of us closer together throughout this, and I hope that continues.
Great.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about. I know when it comes to this course, it's really exciting. But we know, just something to wrap up a little bit with is where do you think this fits in? Where does mental health first aid fit in? So when we look at things like workplaces, when we look at people using this in their everyday lives, even us as the Suicide Prevention Coalition, we're focused on that suicide prevention. So where do you feel mental health first aid fits in terms of workplace health, suicide prevention, and just everyday life? What kind of role does it play?
To me, mental health first aid needs to be part of core competencies for organizations. Like I said at the beginning, everybody's, I worked prior to, 2011, I worked frontline for 20 years, and every job I've had, it's physical first aid and WMIS, whereas you always have to know how to put out that fire and use the fire extinguisher, right? But how many of us have ever had to use a fire extinguisher? How many of us have ever splinted a broken ankle or done CPR or used the Heimlich maneuver? I can't raise my hand for any of that. But how many times have we been mental health first aiders? And I say this to participants when I bring up that slide that has the algaes on it, I say, every single one of you have been a mental health first aider. All of you have done this without even realizing that you've been a mental health first aider. So really what our course does is it strengthens the knowledge, it strengthens the skills, it reinforces to participants the things they have been doing well as a support. It also makes more individuals more aware of, am I really doing a good job of listening? Am I setting that safe space? Am I sitting in that space? Am I providing messages of hope? Am I asking questions and not telling the individual what to do, right? So to me, mental health first aid fits everywhere. And I'll tell you what, my very first job in mental health was as a psychiatric nurse. And I went from a telemetry unit to a psychiatric hospital with no training. I knew nothing. All I knew is that I loved mental health and that's what I wanted to do. That's all I knew. And my training consisted of how to do 4-point restraints and use the body net and all of that, and how to do Z-track injections. That's what my training was. Nothing on mental health. I learned on the job. Boy, I wish that I would have had a mental health first aid training in that position, because it would have gave me a better understanding. And when I went to take my facilitator training in 2008, it really strengthened my skills as a case manager. It really, to me, it really helped me to be a much better, effective case manager with the individuals that I supported. It also, the older adults course has helped me to have a better understanding and support to my aging parents who deal with, ongoing, my dad lives with Alzheimer's, my mom lives with anxiety. So it has helped me to be a better support to people, not just in my professional role, but in my personal life. And so to me, mental health first aid fits everywhere. And I would ask anybody to try to change my mind. They never would be able to, because we are always, there's people around us that sometimes just need to listen. I think that one of the things I really try to stress is that importance of listening, and the listening and communicating non-judgmentally. Because sometimes, and Dara, I think you'll agree, especially with volunteers, people are calling the distress center because they need somebody to listen.
Absolutely.
And so that's what individuals need in that time, is us to listen. And if people leave that course being a better listener, then we have done a lot. And so to me, and I know I give long answers, but Melanie, you know me, so you get a long answer. But it fits everywhere. It truly fits.
It does.
That's great. Well, very exciting. And I know there's lots of great information on the Mental Health First Aid website. You can find upcoming courses. You can find out about becoming instructors as well.
I'm just going to hold off on that. I just want to say right now, because I've been getting a lot of emails, right now our facilitator trainings are on hold because we're not doing anything in person. The whole commission, everybody is still working from home this entire time. I work from home originally, so this hasn't really affected me to the state working from home area thing. But our in-person facilitator trainings are on hold right now. We don't have a timeline for when we will be getting into doing the in-person trainings. I would just say for anybody that's interested to just take a look, because as soon as facilitator trainings are scheduled, they will be posted. We're not accepting applications either at this time because we don't have trainings to accept applications for. For those courses that were canceled last year, obviously those applicants will be given first choice at future facilitator trainings. We will get back to in-person. At some point, I'm very confident we're going to get back to in-person. So for those that may be interested, I would say more closer to the fall to check out the website for any facilitator trainings that could be posted.
Great. Because I know often there is interest when people take the course, they then want to become instructors. So that's great to know where they can get that information. So I can just speak as well, you know, as an instructor in our local community of Halton, we have some of the mental health first aid virtual courses scheduled for April, May, and June. We're going to be scheduling some further ones as well, but great training. They do fill up relatively quickly. Yeah. So we got lots of people interested in learning these skills. So we have the dates posted on our website, which is halton.cmha.ca. So folks want to keep an eye on that and see art courses. But again, as Denise said, these courses are offered across the country. So looking at the mental health first aid website as well, mhfa.ca, to see some sessions that are offered. That's another place to find out some dates that are coming up. So this has been a great conversation. I know, Denise, I could sit with you and talk for hours about this course.
I know, I could too.
Yeah, it's very exciting. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us to talk to us about this program. And I think it's at a time when more people are talking about impacts on people's mental health, more and more people are becoming interested in developing these skills. So if there ever is a perfect time, I personally think it's always the perfect time to take mental health first aid, but a really great time to check it out. And thanks to Melissa and Dara from our Halton Suicide Prevention Coalition for being here today, and really appreciate the great conversation. And yeah, everyone tuning in, definitely keep an eye out for further episodes of our Connect with HSPC website, or webcast, where we'll be talking about more things related to suicide prevention and wellness. So thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Have a good day.